Okay, so if you just watched the video before this one, then you're like, oh, she's wearing the same shirt. It's the same day, so chill. Okay, so this video is like a lot more comfortable, a lot more up close and personal. And I'm talking about kind of an uncomfortable subject, which is something that I typically would avoid on this channel. And it is foreigners in Japan, tourists in Japan, and kind of like how they're treated and how that works and stuff like that. And I feel like the way I was brought up, if you don't have anything nice to say, you kind of don't say anything at all. And also, I don't like drama. The purpose of this video is not for any of those things. And how do I say this? Overwhelmingly, my time in Japan has been filled with nice people that literally would go out of their way to help you. For an example, when I was in Sapporo, I lost my camera. Yeah, the one that we're talking on now. I lost my camera. I was in a taxi. We went to the beer museum. I had 3 beers. I think that was part of the issue. I wasn't really drunk or anything, but I feel like maybe it was enough alcohol to kind of make me cheerful and not really super focused. And I ended up setting my camera down on the seat next to me. I got out of the cab, and next thing I knew, my camera was gone. So we ended up filing a police report. We were running around the city. My husband's quick thinking was what ended up getting my camera back, because we had just paid for the taxi. I had the receipt in the pocket of my clothes, and the receipt had the number of the taxi company. So that's how we were able to call the company and explain to them as best as I could in Japanese what happened. And they thankfully were honest. They told me they had my camera. We agreed to meet back at the beer museum, and then they gave my camera back to me. I think you'll see the video where all this happened later, but I just want to go ahead and get this out collectively. Bear with me. So the point to that story is the taxi driver didn't have to be honest. He could say, I've taken another customer, or maybe you're mistaken, but the camera is not in my cab. I have no idea where it is. It's not my problem. And he could have just kept my camera, honestly, and sold it and made some money for himself. I'm not saying that's what he would have done. What he did do is return my camera back to me and was honest. But he didn't have to be honest. In addition to that, while I was trying to get my camera back, I was distraught. Like, I was beside myself. I was so upset. I was on the verge of tears. And this lady was walking past. My husband and I are trying to talk to the taxi company to try and figure out how we can resolve the situation. And this lady was walking past, this lady who's probably a local to the Sapporo area. She's on her way to work. She realized we're in distress, and she came over, and she could only speak a little bit of English, but she went out of her way to try and intervene and ask, do you need help? And then when we explained the situation, she got on the phone with the taxi company to help translate and help confirm, to make sure that we were gonna meet together and successfully get my camera back. I tell you this story because I don't think it's out of the norm in Japan. That has been my experience with people in Japan overall. Kind people, people that will go out of their way to the point of inconveniencing themselves or missing out on personal profit. Nobody would have known if the taxi driver had been like, nah, no camera here. I have no idea what she's talking about. But he chose to be honest. This lady chose to go out of her way on her way to work to help us. But that is not always the case. And I don't want to make it seem as though, because my overall impression and experience has been positive, that there are no negative experiences. So one of the things that we noticed in Sapporo was that there were a number of people who were just really not trying to deal with people who were from somewhere else. And so we noticed, I can speak a little bit of Japanese, so we were walking past this group of people, and we could hear them talking about us in Japanese. I could recognize a few of the phrases and words that they were saying, and also reading their facial expressions. It was kind of like a passive-aggressive scenario. Another example is we went to a little bar area, and when we came in, the person who was working there, I don't know what his status was in the hierarchy, if he was a manager, owner, I don't know, right? But the person who was working there, who's representing the company, was like, sorry, right now we're closed. We can't offer any service to you. But the thing is, there were other people sitting in there using the establishment. And their like hours for the business that were posted said that the business should still be open. And we're like, oh, okay, like, you know, we'll head out then. And then my husband was like, it does say online, like on his phone, because he showed, like, it does say like it was open. That's why we stopped by. And the guy was like, oh yeah, I don't know anything about that. There's construction going on in the building next door or something. And that's why we had to affect our hours or something. But it didn't affect the people that were sitting around us that were still using the establishment. Another thing is we went to a little like ice cream place, and the shop owner there kind of responded the same way. He just gave us kind of like a really like disgusted, unfriendly face when we came in. And I got the impression he was really just trying to get us out of his shop. He didn't want us there. That was my impression, right? And if it was one isolated instance of this behavior, then I think I would be like, okay, maybe this one person was having a rough day. But it was several occasions. Even there's an occasion we went to Nobore Betsu, which you'll also see later in this series. And the driver of the like little local bus in the area was just really surly. Like I tried to ask him a question. He was like, yeah, it's right there. Like, you know, kind of like that, right? So if it was one person or one instance, then I think I would be like, yeah, maybe it was just an isolated thing. But overall, I got the vibe that maybe this is an area where there is some sort of tension going on or whatever. So I feel like that's something I wish I knew before I went. I don't know if it was just the time period that we went or something else. But yeah, I kind of would have liked to know that before visiting. And I feel like it can overall apply to Japan as a whole. I believe, to summarize, I believe that as a whole, Japanese people are really kind, friendly, positive people to be around. I love the people of Japan deeply. It's part of why I'm trying to learn the language. So I do feel like the people that I ran into that were something other than absolutely lovely were either maybe having a bad day, had a bad experience with people who are not from Japan and were traumatized maybe, or just unfortunately had some internal things that they needed to work through. But I bring all of this up because I just want everybody to kind of think about that from the standpoint of, don't assume that everybody in Japan is perfect. People in Japan are lovely overall. That's been my experience. But there are the occasional people that just may not measure up to that expectation. So to summarize, just to make it clear, I love the people of Japan. I love living in Japan. And I am deeply and truly appreciative for every Japanese person I have met who has been kind. And I am very lucky and fortunate to call some Japanese people around me my friends. And it's unfortunate that I did meet some that were a little unfriendly, but that's what happens. I feel like if you were to go to any place, you're gonna meet somebody who's just a tiny bit grumpy. So I feel like that pretty much summarizes it. I feel like this is a little bit rambly. If you have any questions or comments, please go ahead and put them down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.